for all mankind. This reenactment of Jesus' crucifixion and death has a deep and spiritual meaning for all of us. As the action proceeds, let us think about the many ways Jesus is crucified in the world today. Men and women of goodwill, committed to bringing peace and justice to this world, are suffering today, sometimes in the name of religion, as Jesus did. What does this special journey of Jesus say about our journey?
Jesus approaches carrying his cross.
Bring the prisoner.
His cross did not come only from Pilate or the Roman soldiers. It came when he took on his Father's work and became human. On his shoulders rested a weight that only he fully understood. His journey begins. The significance and challenge of his journey is far heavier than the wooden cross he is carrying. Jesus falls the first time on his journey.
We recall the falls, the mistakes, and the sins of our own journey. We can learn from his fall. We too will fall if we try too hard to succeed by ourselves. We do not need a worldly success to get his attention. In all that you undertake, go first to him in prayer and ask what he wants.
On his way, he meets his mother, and for a moment their eyes meet.
Is this really my son? Throughout your life, you taught peace, love, and kindness. What does this mean? I realize that what you are telling me is that watching the pain of those we love is harder to bear than our own.
The soldiers ask Simon of Cyrene, a bystander, to help carry the cross.
You too will be startled by crosses thrust upon you when you least expect them. When that happens, Jesus will not hold against you your cry of "Why me?" You must not spend your life looking for reasons for your crosses. Learn from Simon's plight that the Father uses anything and anyone to accomplish salvation.
You there, help carry that. Take that. Hurry up, now.
Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Veronica wipes the blood, sweat, and dirt from his eyes. She had not been close to him in life, as many others had, but she responded when an act of kindness was needed. Kindness begets kindness. Would you have wiped his face?
How can you say that you would have, if you have ignored wiping the face of the least of these? You cannot expect to be gentle in a crisis, unless you have practiced gentleness so often that it becomes natural.
Jesus becomes weaker and falls the second time.
What a profound lesson for us all. Momentary good fortune does not mean the struggle is over. If things are going well, be careful. You may be about to fall. Both good and bad are fleeting moments in this life. Count on nothing except the love of Jesus.
Jesus meets the wailing women of Jerusalem.
Are we intolerant of religious practice for its own sake? Do we use religious routines when they are really an excuse to avoid our deep personal commitment to Jesus? Sometimes it is better to be silent, to pour out our hearts where no one can hear. When we know for whom we weep, we can then travel the road to Calvary.
Jesus falls the third time. It hurts very much, but more than the pain of the weight of the cross was the pain in knowing that someday we too will fall for a third time and have no strength to get up. Do we let those around us rob us of our dignity when we are on the ground? Can we become like Jesus when we are weak and helpless? Jesus is stripped of his clothes.
Just like a common criminal, the soldier stripped Jesus of his clothes. How that must have hurt, because his clothes were plastered to his body with caked blood. Clothes are very personal. We instinctively resist having them ripped from our bodies. Yet clothes are a part of our ego. The more we cling to our superficial self, the more layers of clothing we wrap around ourselves that one day will be stripped from us.
Our death will be the end of our ego and the personal empires we've built throughout our lifetime. If we have died daily to ourselves, the stripping of our humanity at death will not hurt so much. We may, like Jesus, not even clutch our clothes as we are being stripped.
Jesus is nailed to the cross. Can you imagine what a crucifixion is? They nailed his hands and feet to the cross. Whom have you nailed to the cross in the name of religion? We do not know how sensitive a soul can be, how quickly pain becomes insufferable agony. Instead of judging, we must do all we can to relieve our brothers and sisters of pain and suffering. Jesus' suffering was infinite because his love for us is infinite.
He hung there, looking down at his people, for whom he has given so much, and he still loves them. In the midst of great suffering, he turned in prayer and said,
Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.
There were two robbers, thieves, crucified with Jesus.
Origin of Christ, save yourself and us.
Don't you think it's fear God, seeing that you yourself are under the same sentence? We deserve our own fate, but this man has done nothing wrong. Jesus.
Nay, I promise you.
Near the cross stood his mother and Mary of Magdalene. Seeing his mother and the disciple he loved, Jesus said to his mother, Then to the disciple he said, From that moment, the disciple made a place for her in his home. This biblical narrative indicates Mary is the mother of all believers.
Jesus dies on the cross.
As Christ hung dying on the cross, he was mocked, tormented, and reviled. He was alone, so utterly alone.
You! Look at this storehouse up where you built it in 3 days! Save yourself!
You really are the Son of God? Come down from that cross, come down. He's saved others, and he not save himself.
He trusted in God. Let him save him as he wants.
The darkness that was over the land from the 6th hour was deepening. Jesus' life was ebbing. In his pain and suffering, he prayed part of an ancient psalm.
My God, why have you forsaken me?
After this, Jesus knew everything had now been completed, and in fulfillment of Scripture, he said,
I'm thirsty.
A jar filled with vinegar stood there. So one of the soldiers soaked a sponge on a hyssop stick, held it up to his mouth, but he would not take it. It was ending now. His voice could only be heard by those closest to him.
It is finished.
The journey was over. He spoke once more to his Father.
Into your hands, I commit my spirit.
In saying this, the beaten body on the makeshift cross slumped down and hung lifelessly. Even as they were assuring themselves that he was, in truth, dead, those who watched began to ask, why? Why such death after such a life? Why did he forgive them? They wondered.
At that, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, the rocks were split, the tombs opened, and the bodies of many holy men rose from the dead. And these, after his resurrection, came out of the tombs, entered the holy city, and appeared to a number of people. Meanwhile, the centurion, together with the others guarding Jesus, had seen the earthquake and all that was taking place, and they were terrified and said,
He was the Son of God.
Jesus is taken down from the cross. They took him down so his body would not hang there on the Sabbath. Did Jesus have to die to get us to listen and love in silence? There are times when we must work, but there are even more times when we must say nothing and do nothing and be with Jesus. Our hearts are aching, as did Mary's and his faithful disciples. Jesus' body is put into a tomb.
When it was evening, there came a rich man, Joseph of Arimathea, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. He was loaning Jesus his tomb, but then Jesus was always borrowing things.
He borrowed a crib in Bethlehem in which to be born. He borrowed Peter's boat from which to preach.
He borrowed bread and wine to become his body and blood to sustain us throughout human history. Thorns, wood, and nails were borrowed to redeem the universe. Will you let him borrow your life?
The recreation of his story has ended, but his life and its meaning will go on. Will you please return with us now to the stable? He is there. He waits for us. Christ's journey continues in each of us. Let us now return to our classrooms in silence and continue to live our lives following Jesus on his journey.